Hello, everyone. This is Secular Sekai with Tridents Against Tyrants, and today is day 718 of Russia's illegal invasion of the sovereign nation of Ukraine. Apologies for being a little bit late. Had to get a bunch of different things ready. Had animals to take care of this morning. Just a couple different things happening in several different directions. All right, now then. We've got quite a bit of news to cover today. Biggest piece of news, which we'll get to momentarily, is that U.S. aid to Ukraine has made progress in the Senate. Now, this is significant, but it's not something to be complacent about because, unfortunately, there is still additional voting that needs to be done before the Ukraine aid, which should number, I think the total bill for all U.S. allies in this is supposed to be somewhere around $95 billion. A good portion of that will be going to Ukraine, and then some of it will also go to nations like Israel and Taiwan. So there's a lot to unpack there. We're going to get to that momentarily. We also today will be joined by San, or I don't know if she prefers it to be pronounced San or San, because I actually have to get onto a voice chat with her to ask. But we will be joined by San of Balakun, and possibly by another member of Balakun as well. So for anyone unfamiliar, and actually this is reminding me right now, before I forget, I'm going to put it's already in the title for this video, but I'm also going to put a link to the Balakun YouTube channel in the description and in the chat, live chat as well. So please be sure to go subscribe to them. Their channel is dedicated to linking up Ukrainian speakers and English speakers with a goal of cross-language communication and teaching. Primary focus is teaching Ukrainians English, but of course, if you're talking with them or volunteering with them, I'm sure English speakers also would be picking up Ukrainian as well. But the primary focus is English as a second language for Ukrainians. And one moment while I go ahead and put that in the description. And I'll put it in the chat right now as well. And moderators, yeah, go ahead and, if you can, save that, and please post Balakun's YouTube channel during the stream so people can see it. But it is also in the description. So let's see who all is here with us so far. We've got Anna, KK's GG, Silver Earth, Paul. Welcome, Paul. Tone. We've got Dr. Tuso, Sweet 70433, Jane Nosevich. Yeah, and I'm sure Real Dave Seaman, the Real Dave Seaman. Yeah, perfect. Well, welcome everybody. And we're going to go ahead and get started here in a sec with a few articles to begin with. Another big piece of news, which we'll be getting to very soon. Some quiet but steady progress on getting some pro-Ukraine support in the state of Louisiana. And we will cover that as well. For anyone unaware, the current Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, is from Louisiana, and specifically this grassroots pro-Ukraine support is coming from Western Louisiana, in addition to a few other initiatives happening in New Orleans, so from east to west. more support for Ukraine in Louisiana can only be good. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started with an article now. Oh, and one more thing. Because my week was crazy busy and I was running left and right from phone calls and digital meetings and posting stuff, and then I had an actual live conference event yesterday. That was also, I suppose, indirectly related to support for Ukraine. Uh, I did not have time to put this on all of the different places on Discord, Facebook, other social media I usually do to promote the stream. So if you're watching, please please share. Please feel free to share it to any social media, most especially other pro-Ukraine Discord channels, YouTube, Facebook groups, and anywhere else where you think people may have an interest. All right, now with that, let's get started. Here we go. Oh. Yeah, okay, perfect. And on. And I have to close this unwanted advertisement. All right, so our first article, which, as usual, I will be putting in the live chat as well as the description, comes from CBS News. Senate slowly forges ahead on foreign aid bill. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in live chat right now. All right. And there we go, in the description as well. Oh, and as I'm getting this pulled up, I'm seeing a question. What are the avenues to work around Speaker Johnson if necessary? I think that's a multi-layered question. He he isn't the end all be all, but he does have influence. He is the Speaker of the House. He, kind of has the ability to introduce certain bill or my understanding of it is that when it comes to taking a vote on particular bills, he has more influence on whether or not something will be taken up in the first place or not. Um, Working around him, technically, there are several different ways that could be done. There are ways that outside of Congress that could, there are avenues even outside of Congress that technically could be taken, which the Biden administration, I think, for various reasons, uh, have not explored yet. Um, but yeah, I think it's a little difficult. Convincing Mike Johnson either to be supportive of Ukraine or to be open to negotiation, um, in order to support Ukraine or introduce bills in support of Ukraine, maybe in exchange for something else that his circle is interested in. These are things that have to be looked into. Um, but yeah, it is a good question. I'll have to do more research from the angle of Congress specifically. What could be done to work around him? All right, let's see here. Oh, and also I'm opening the Q&A, so anyone who wants to ask questions, as usual, you can ask them in the normal chat or go to the Q&A section. Okay, and that is open now. All right, now let's go ahead and move forward. Oh, apologies, that's the wrong article. I guess that kind of gave you a that gave you a sneak peek at what we're going to talk about regarding Louisiana, and probably explains why someone was asking about Mike Johnson right from the very beginning. But yeah, we'll discuss that article in a little bit. First one is from CBS News: Senate slowly forges ahead on foreign aid bill. All right. Senate advances foreign aid package, but path forward for bill unclear. From Washington, reporting from Washington, I would assume. $95 billion aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and the Indo-Pacific in general, several allies, including Taiwan, could be on its way to the House early next week after months of setbacks in the Senate. The Senate voted 64-19 on Friday night to officially begin debate on the foreign aid supplemental and is expected to work through the weekend after some Republicans demanded that the legislation include border security provisions while others objected to it outright. Gee, I wonder. I wonder which Republicans did that. The procedural vote sets up several days of debate and additional votes that are likely to bleed into the start of the Senate's 2-week recess, which is supposed to begin Monday. The Senate will keep working on this bill until the job is done, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, a New York Democrat, said Friday. Ooh, and a bit off topic, but New York, I've also been looking at pretty recently. Domestic U.S. politics, Democrats versus Republicans. That is an important state. And the upset in this last election cycle there was not good for Democrats. So, yeah, here's hoping that they manage to keep New York blue as possible. On Thursday, the Senate crossed its first hurdle in getting the supplemental across the finish line after Republicans blocked a bipartisan border security deal that included the foreign aid. The foreign aid portion was then separated from the larger bill, but the Senate delayed a procedural vote to advance the stripped-down version that was expected to happen Wednesday night amid disagreements about how to proceed. Yeah. So first, the border security deal is blocked, which included the foreign aid. Now it's been separated, and the procedural vote has been delayed. Yeah. I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it too, you know. Eventually, the questions have to be asked of what exactly is needed to get this passed, and it starts to feel a bit pedantic when certain members of Congress seem to just continue to not have sufficient answers for that question. Yesterday, the Senate cleared the first major procedural hurdle to passing the National Security Supplemental. It was a good and very important first step, Schumer said. But Democrats and Republicans did not yet have an agreement on amendments, which would speed up final passage, Schumer said. Democrats are willing to consider reasonable and fair amendments, he said. Senator Rand Paul, a Kentucky Republican, said he would object to anything speeding up this quote-unquote rotten foreign spending bills passage. For anyone unaware, Rand Paul has not been very pro-Ukraine. And so let's hope that he does not end up trying to garner support for a spoiler on this, because this is something that really needs to pass through the Senate so it can make its way to the House and not be delayed all the way until November. If the bill survives the remaining disputes and can pass the Senate, it still faces barriers in the House, where many Republicans are opposed to additional Ukraine aid. House Speaker Mike Johnson, a Louisiana Republican, was non-committal on Wednesday about the bill's future in the lower chamber. Excuse me. We're allowing the process to play out, and we'll handle it as it is sent over, Johnson told reporters. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries indicated Thursday that Democrats could attempt to force a vote on the foreign aid bill. Democrats could use a procedural step known as a discharge petition to get around the House GOP leaders, but it would require a handful of Republicans to sign on to give Democrats the 218 signatures required. A discharge petition enables lawmakers to force a vote on the House floor, but it can take days or weeks to put the measure to a vote. So, getting enough Republicans on board, if it makes it to the House, I don't know how that would work with the current state of the House, specifically which Republicans have hijacked the Republican Party with just enough members to be major spoilers time and time again. But we shall see. House Democrats are prepared to use every available legislative tool to make sure we get comprehensive national security legislation over the finish line, the New York Democrats said in a statement. Oh, we're almost at the end. Oh, that was the end. Never mind. All right. So let's unpack that a little bit. So basically, we are seeing progress. And while that is exciting, the big thing is, as I mentioned before, being complacent is not an option with this. It is extremely important that there be continued pressure on Washington, D.C., on the senators both senators and congressmen in the House Representatives. And this has got to go on for a while. From my understanding, there are many isolationist, MAGA, quote unquote, America First people who have been calling and really just complaining about a variety of different topics. Ukraine is one of them. And they've been doing it for a while, longer than, for example, pro Ukraine or other single issue voters have been doing, who are more centrist or liberal in their leanings. So because of this, it's a little bit of it's not an uphill battle, because the number of calls alone doesn't determine, of course, how a senator or House representative is going to vote. But it is still important. I think I I don't have any data to say whether this is completely true or not, but the last I heard, it was something like 30-1, the number of anti-Ukraine versus pro-Ukraine calls happening on a daily or weekly basis. Probably weekly. And that's something that needs to change, even if it just becomes, 30-15, a 2-1, difference. Um, that really needs to happen. And a lot of people assume, oh, this is hundreds and hundreds of calls, thousands. My call doesn't matter. Guys, in some districts, in some places, if you call a senator or a House representative, it could be 10. It could be 10 callers. It could be 15. It could be as low as that in order to get to make a difference. Um, MAGA aren't this giant, unstoppable force of, like, organized thousands upon thousands of people with machinations behind the scenes. They're just people. And even though they're calling more, if you start calling in support of Ukraine and other issues that are important to you, you can even the odds. Um, and in the case of Ukraine, since it's something that does still have bipartisan support and Republicans who are kind of quietly wanting to support it, but having trouble, being able to find a way to justify that, so to speak, to their constituents, the more calls they get, the better. Democrats and Republicans. So keep that in mind. All right. Now, let's see here. Oh, hold on. Let me close this for a sec and switch this. And we'll turn the camera back on now that it's in proper reader mode. Another article, which I'm putting in the live chat and description right now, continuing on this topic, Reuters.com. There we go. And that's in the chat and the description, as per usual. In Kiev, bipartisan U.S. Congress delegation vows to get Ukraine aid through. And as I said, there is still bipartisan support. This is something that I personally believe we must remember and we must maintain. I've heard some people be a bit defeatist and say it's already partisan. There's no use talking to Republicans. Guys, if we go down that road, this will be impossible. Democrats don't have control. They don't have full control of either the Senate or the House. Let me repeat this. If Ukraine aid is not bipartisan, if you do not have Democrats, Republicans, and independents all working toward making it a reality, then rolling the dice to see what happens come November, really even after November, probably December or January, that's where we're at, and that is unacceptable. So this is good to see. We need to see more of this. All right. Oh, I have to scroll down a little more. Oh, of course. Well, maybe Reuters is not wanting to work properly with this. Hold on one moment while I get this sorted, because it should be showing the article instead. Oh, wait, I think it's maybe as simple as just refreshing. Let me find this. If it doesn't work in reader mode, I'm just going to read the article without reader mode. I really just put it on to avoid ads and logos and all of that as much as possible to prevent anything that could be used to attack the channel from being visible. So let's see. Oh, might be just because it's not a free article. Okay, we're gonna try one thing right quick and see if this works. If not, then that will be extremely annoying, and paywalls are the bane of my existence. Hold on one second, guys. Sorry about this. Oh, Cheryl, I see your message about talking to your cousin who happens to be MAGA to call their representative with him saying, "What can I do about it?" This is something I've noticed. I actually saw a meme the other day comparing Cold War era Reagan Republicans with MAGA Republicans, and just how different the two are in terms of their messaging, in terms of their knowledge, in terms of their confidence, and really trust in being able to do anything. Yeah. Well, I hope that he does call, and I hope you're able to convince him. Because yeah, we do need voices to catch the ear of some of these officials. All right, let's see. Oh, look at that, and I did manage to unlock it. Oh, but I can't use my reader plugin like this. Yeah, it won't let me, which is annoying. Okay, well, it's fine. We'll just do it without the reader plugin. So let me open this up and we will go. Oh, have to switch the source. All right. From Kiev, February 9th, Reuters. A bipartisan delegation of U.S. Congress members came to Kiev on Friday to meet with Ukraine's president as they sought to give assurances they would do their part to get crucial stalled military aid legislation through the House of Representatives. The delegation consisted of 4 members of the House Intelligence Committee, Republicans Mike Turner and French Hill, along with Democrats Jason Crow and Abigail Spanberger. The United States is working diligently in the House of Representatives and the Senate to secure the funding that is necessary in 2024, Turner told journalists at a press conference before the delegation left to meet President Volodymyr Zelensky. The U.S. has been Ukraine's largest supplier of military assistance as Kiev fights off Russia's nearly 2-year-old invasion, but that help is now on hold while Congress wrangles over a bill providing aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Nope. Page flashed for a second. The $95.34 billion bill advanced in the U.S. Senate on Thursday after Republicans blocked previous compromise legislation. It's delayed this year during the course of not only a presidential election year, but also controversies in the House about politics, Hill said. That is a very general statement. What? It's all politics. It's the House of Representatives. Sorry, that made me laugh for a minute. The lawmakers also met with officials from the SBU and GUR intelligence agencies. HUR, SBU and HUR, HURMO. So, for anyone unfamiliar, those are Ukrainian intelligence agencies. And you may not see it right now. Oh, I just realized. There we go. Now you can read along with me. Actually, this works better because, yeah, I know that I didn't have the article visible for a second there, but I skipped a bunch of images and such and advertisements, so probably better that it wasn't visible. But in any case, let's finish this. The lawmakers also met with officials from the SBU and HUR intelligence agencies. You might not see it right now, but the owl you typically see when I'm on this channel, that's inspired by the symbol, the official animal, or on the emblem for the HURMO intelligence agency of Ukraine. Their official symbol is the owl, because owls eat bats, and the bat is a symbol of the, I want to say it's GRU, of Russian intelligence agency. We stand with Ukraine not just because we understand that defending freedom and democracy around the world is an American value, but we stand with Ukraine because it's also in America's interest to do so, said Crow. Short article, short and sweet, but yeah, that is good to see. Good to see a delegation in Kiev. I do strongly hope that we see more progress on advancing this bill through the Senate and beyond. It is very important. So hopefully that will be the case. All right. I'm noticing something. Hold on one sec, everybody. I'm checking something with audio settings. Let me know as the stream is continuing if my voice ever gets quiet, because unfortunately there is an auto gain option with a lot of software that I have been noticing here lately. And actually, better idea. Let me just take off. There we go. If you notice any difference in my voice, then just let me know if I ever get too quiet during the stream, and I'll adjust that. Thanks, everybody. All right. Now then, let's continue. Okay. So that's basically it regarding the Senate bill for right now. Uh, but that is not everything. Uh, in addition, what's incredibly important to remember is that, oh, hey, Noman, good to see you. Um, is that Mike Johnson in the House of Representatives, this will make it through the Senate. We will push to make sure this gets through the Senate. But after it gets through the Senate, and the reason why you continue to hear more so than the Senate that there's, potential issues with the House of Representatives is because, well, there is a concern that MAGA Republicans who have more members in the House than the Senate will make it more difficult to get aid passed in that chamber of Congress. So, with that being the case, basically where we're at right now is it is a lot of uncertainty. I do believe that it may take, hopefully it won't take too long, but it will get through the Senate. Getting through the House, as everyone anticipates, will likely be a bit more difficult. But still, we have to push. Call your senators once it's passed through the Senate. Call your House of Representatives. Call all of them, your senators and your House reps, and especially, excuse me, especially if you know that the person you're talking to is someone who is not just Reagan era Republican, Bush era Republican, whatever, like an older Republican, but someone who is fully on board with MAGA and Donald Trump. You know, they're not just strong armed into it, they're really, really into it. Try to think of talking points that are a bit similar to what a MAGA constituent of theirs would use for in general. One approach that I have seen people using in activist circles is when you call them, mention whether you yourself are religious or not. The fact that many people are suffering in Ukraine, and it's horrible for everyone involved. Um, but especially Ukrainian Christians being targeted by Moscow. Um, and I know some people may or may not be comfortable getting very specific with religion if they're calling their representative, but they'll I would think they would probably listen to that. Many MAGA representatives uh, tend to mix Christianity with their brand of politics a fair amount. Anyway, let me pull this off the screen. All right, so we're going to move on to the next article. Here we go. And then last week we had an issue with watching a video. I'm hoping it shouldn't be an issue this week. We'll go ahead and jump into a news video, and yeah, we'll either go with Jesse or we'll go with another pretty well-known channel. All right, one moment. All right, so here we go. All right, citizen ambassadors visited LSUS on Friday to build solidarity with Ukraine. Shreveport, Louisiana. It wasn't going to happen to me. That's what Ukrainian native Yulia Holodova thought when Russia started its full-scale invasion of Ukraine 2 years ago this month. But then the missiles were on the doorstep of her Kiev apartment. It's 2 a.m. You hear the missile alarms, which were not uncommon, but then we heard a different buzzing noise, a drone, Holodova said. I head into the hallway with my parents because the safest place you can be is in between two walls. And the explosion started. and they were very close to my home. We survived the night. My family and my house were fine. We were super blessed to be able to walk away. That's the morning that woke Holodova up, she said. She helped found a nonprofit called Citizen Ambassadors, an organization whose goal is to build personal relationships across the globe in an effort to lift the voices of Ukraine. The organization spoke to LSUS students and community members Friday about the importance of American solidarity with Ukraine. The event was organized by the Ruth Herring Noel Endowed Chair. LSUS, I am fairly certain, is Louisiana State University, Shreveport, which makes sense given the fact that this is reporting from Shreveport. Film director and former U.S. Army Captain Justin Roberts got a taste of what it's like to be overlooked. The Lake Charles resident noticed media attention and that of charities drifting quickly away from the city after Hurricane Laura, a Category 4 storm, caused catastrophic damage in 2020. Roberts, a veteran of the war in Afghanistan, has traveled to disaster areas and war zones, including Ukraine, just months after the full-scale invasion. We go to places where bad things happen and meet people doing good things and tell their story, Roberts said. Ukrainians are just like us in that they are willing to fight and die for their freedom. This is another thing that's important, everyone, with messaging. And that's something that can be rather universal across party lines in the long term, depending on how the messaging is delivered. So keep that in mind. We're defined by what we stand against. If we don't continue to stand with Ukrainians, who are we collectively as a people? Roberts spent time on the front lines of the Ukrainian war in cities like Kharkiv, the Donbass region, Dnipro, and Kiev. Oop. There we go. He met real Ukrainians like Holodova and realized the West's perceived apathy toward Ukraine would change if they had personal relationships with people who are experiencing this type of trauma. Personal relationships can break the empathy barrier, said Roberts, who spent 8 months in Ukraine. If something is happening to a person that I know, then the distance from the United States and our frame of minds becomes much shorter. We're trying to build those connections at Citizen Ambassadors. Holodova, who is in her 20s, described Ukraine's relationship with Russia as abusive, with a big brother, little brother dynamic, in that Russia insisted that Ukraine depended on the motherland of the former Soviet Union. That is sadly a major tactic of Russia. It has been, not just against Ukraine, but against several neighboring states, post-Soviet states. But even still, it came as a shock when the bombs started dropping. We thought Russians were our friends and our brothers, Holodova said. But when we look back at it, we realized we were naive. We've been fed Russian propaganda and even propaganda from our own government at the time of the 2014 invasion of the Donbass. We were told it was an anti-terrorist operation, quote unquote, and we believed it. Fighting Russian propaganda from the U.S. perspective is also an aim of Citizen Ambassadors. Roberts said Russia spent nearly $2 billion on propaganda, with much of that aimed at influencing the world's sentiment and empathy for Ukraine. I'll also add that Russian propaganda extends to multiple different things around the world. But yes, right now especially, a major focus on Ukraine. But if you have personal relationships with people in Ukraine, you can ask what's really going on there, Roberts said. What if there wasn't a disconnect between normal Americans and Ukrainians and they could see each other and talk face to face? With the rise of artificial intelligence and propaganda, face-to-face relationships can combat those things and provide a more accurate picture. Citizen ambassadors also want to rally American legislative support for Ukraine's efforts, and members are encouraged to contact their Congress representatives. Shreveport's Congressman Mike Johnson, let me repeat that, Shreveport, where this took place, the congressman of this city is Mike Johnson. Just happens to be the new speaker for the U.S. House of Representatives. A bill including $60 billion for Ukrainian aid appears to have the necessary votes in the Senate, and it will come down to whether it passes the U.S. House. As I was saying, this is the anticipation. This is why your calls are so important, everyone. Please don't get complacent. Call your senators and your House rep. I know there's a lot of House representatives, so it's very tempting to just find a convenient list of senator phone numbers and not locate and save inside of your phone your House representative's phone and email. But please, yeah, the next time you make a call or you send an email, just save it so it's convenient on a piece of paper inside of your phone. Bookmark, the page that has the information in your browser. However you want to do it, just make sure it is quick and easy for you to access that information, so you can call all three. Excuse me. If Russia does take Ukraine, it's not stopping there, Roberts said. Then it's Poland and Lithuania. Yeah, learn more about citizen ambassadors by visiting their website at citizenambassadorcorps.org. So please go check them out. In fact, you know what? Let's take a look at their website right now. I'm going to pull this up, and we will take a look. Let's see. Let's get this all put together. Okay. All right. So, what is Citizen Ambassadors? The Citizen Ambassadors is is an innovative platform that empowers those in crisis or disaster-stricken areas to share their stories, providing an unfiltered perspective that often goes unheard. So, yeah, short website, seems to be an single page. Oh no, I take that back. It is multi-page. What is Citizen Ambassadors? Imagine a world where every time a crisis, disaster, or significant problem emerges, there's a ready and robust network in place to connect individuals across borders, fostering mutual understanding and countering misinformation. So, yeah, if you would like to learn more about them, please check out their website. This is fantastic work to see, and I do think we need to see more of it. All right, now then, let me go ahead and I have one more article we're going to cover right quick. And after that, we're going to move on to. Oh, actually. Oh, shoot. I am so sorry. I got so focused on the stream. I need to do one thing right quick. Okay. We will continue momentarily. One moment, everyone. Need to make sure that our guests have the link to join us. Like I said, just running from one appointment to another. So let me make sure that we've got this set up. Okay, so while we are waiting for our friends from Balakun to join, before I keep going forward, let's take a look at some of the comments. So, Oh, I see that American in Ukraine is here with us. Hey, good to see you, man. So rare to get on these streams. This is amazing. I want to contact this ambassadors group. Yes, yes, please do. Um, I'll put a link to the Citizen Ambassadors contact page in the live chat right now for everybody. And let's see here. So we're waiting for our guests. I've gone ahead and put Citizen Ambassador Corps into the chat. They have a phone number. So, yeah, everybody, if you know anybody in the state of Louisiana who would like to get in contact with citizen ambassadors, be involved, help out, even if you don't live in Louisiana, if you have useful contacts that can help them with the work that they're doing, it would be fantastic because we really do need something that's going to provide some leverage, some assistance in convincing these MAGA Republicans to stand by Ukraine. And there are many angles. I do think that pushing on the religion angle, it's morally right. You know, the persecution of Ukrainian Christians by Moscow, it's an approach that can help because, yeah, uh, for anyone unaware, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is a very religious man. So again, even if you yourself are not really very religious, I'm not very religious. For example, you know, regardless, just keep these facts and these talking points in mind. But also be aware of who you're talking to because, of course, taking one approach to uh, making an argument for aid to Ukraine might be effective with a person who is politically aligned in one way, such as a MAGA Republican, but it may be less effective if you're calling a progressive Democrat. Perhaps in that case, it might be more of a focus on NATO security, national security of the U.S., morally right thing to do. Um, it's something that many Democrats have been pushing for that Republicans are blocking, et cetera, et cetera. So just tailor your approach depending on who you're speaking with. Keep that in mind. All right. Now then, let me pull up this. Oh, shoot. I need to make sure I have it available to pull up. Let me grab this last article that we're going to look at now. And also, in addition, let me go ahead and yeah. All right. Well, let's start with this article, and then I'm going to jump into the videos and everything. Oof. Here we go. Sorry, I had to scroll for a sec in order to find the article. All right, I'm putting it into chat right now. Oh, and I just realized I think I forgot to put that LSU article into the chat, so I'll do that right quick as well. And yeah, so that was the previous article. Here is the let me do this. Current article. All right, KBTS article. All right, here we go. Let's see. Okay, so nonprofit connects. There we go, and it should be visible on screen now. From ktbs.com. Nonprofit connects Americans to Ukrainians in the war zone. Shreveport, Louisiana. It's been nearly 2 years since Russia launched a full invasion of Ukraine. The war there is still raging. Today, so this should be covering the same event. I believe this is just another news article. This is still Citizen Ambassadors. But this is good to see that more than one news outlet did cover this. And now we're covering it. And hopefully more people will cover it. And from there, it can continue to grow because we need to get the word out. So we'll just go through this real quickly, and then we're moving on. But this is exciting news, which is why I want to cover it rather thoroughly. Shreveport, Louisiana. It's been nearly 2 years since Russia launched a full invasion of Ukraine. The war there is still raging. Today, a Louisiana documentarian and a Ukraine nonprofit are working to help help Americans get a better understanding of the crisis overseas. You don't really know what's going on until you know somebody who's in that area, said Justin Roberts, a documentary filmmaker. At LSUS, students and community members heard first-hand accounts of the war in Ukraine. I'm used to it. I'm used to bombs flying over my head at night. I'm used to hearing explosions. I mean, every day, every week, said Yulia Holodova, Citizen Ambassador's co-founder. Ukrainian writer Yulia Holodova and Louisianan film director Justin Roberts led a discussion at LSUS Friday. Roberts and nonprofit Citizen Ambassadors are making sure Americans see what's going on in the war zone. I would get in there, embed with the military, go to the front, show what is going on, and find out who the heroes, who are the people who are really making a difference, said Roberts. Through the nonprofit, people in America can talk directly with Ukrainians and get first-hand accounts of what is happening. This is extremely important, as mentioned in the previous article. Go check them out. Being able to do that and have face-to-face conversations. I imagine they probably do both in person and over Zoom or other video conferencing software. It makes a difference, guys. We need that human connection. Through the nonprofit, students really on the internet can share the information very quickly, spread this information very quickly, and that's what we need. We need to talk about what's happening in Ukraine, said Holodova. With that, they're making real, lasting connections between people in both countries. That way, the crisis is still remembered while there is still a need, said Roberts. I think it would help strengthen our nation. I think humanitarianly, we have a moral goal to do that, a moral right, and it's just a benefit for the world in general, said William Wren, a sophomore at LSUS. If you'd like to join Citizen Ambassadors, click here. Yeah, there you go. Nice plug. I like how at the very end they make it just straightforward. If you would like to join and get involved, then check out their website. And again, that is citizenambassadorcorps.org. All right. Now then, let's go ahead and move on now to the video segment of the news while we're waiting to see if Balakun joins us. Given the fact that I sent the message just a few minutes ago. Oh, we do have Sandy with Balakun. Let me add her to the stream right now. Actually, let me go ahead and close the article first. And let me make a new arrangement. I'm going to close the stream chat overlay for right now, guys, just so the screen is not too covered.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me
Can you
okay?
Yeah, I can hear you pretty well. If you can hear Sandy pretty well, give us a plus plus in chat, guys. How has your day been?
It only just started. It's 6 a.m. here. Yeah.
Ah,
How are
okay.
you?
It's I'm good. It's been a busy, busy week.
Yeah.
But that's the norm, so I'd be unhappy if it weren't that way.
Mhm, mhm.
um, so
Are you
I
in the
guess
States or are you in Ukraine?
I am in the States, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm in North America. I bounce around a lot, but right now I'm in Central Time Zone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's about 11 o'clock over here for me. Um, so yeah, I guess we've had a chance to correspond a little bit, but first of all, it's nice to talk to you. Over voice chat.
Mm-hmm.
And is it pronounced Sandy or Sandy?
Sandy. Sandy.
Sandy.
Yeah.
Okay. So Sandy, can you tell us a little bit about Balakun? What it is your organization. Actually, the timing was perfect because I just finished the articles of news and we were going to move on to video news soon.
Okay.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about Balakun.
Sure. Well, basically, I'm not really an English teacher. I have a separate job as a scientist, but this is just something that I was doing as a volunteer because it was very helpful, and I met people online who wanted help with English, and it was really rewarding for me, and they got a lot out of it as well. And then I started to get a lot of requests, and I just couldn't do it. So I couldn't fit in all the people that I wanted to teach. So I advertised on Twitter and on other places. Does anyone else want to help me out? It's not that hard. Most people just want to practice talking rather than be taught grammar and things like that. So I ended up with a big response to that, which was amazing. And that was October. So now we're February, and we've got almost 200 matches. So there's 200 people, 200 students who have a mentor or a teacher somewhere in the world. They're all over the world, actually. We were just making a map the other day, and they just meet up once a week, practice talking. Some people get really into it. They want to teach the rules, teach lots of vocabulary, all of that kinds of things. Some people just want to chat. But it's been a really rewarding experience for everybody. And now we've got a team of there's 8 main managers, and I'm in New Zealand. There's 2 in the US, 1 in Kyiv, 1 in Mexico, 1 in France, and 1 in Norway. And we're the sort of main people who make decisions and get things done, and it's working really well. The hardest thing is trying to schedule meetings when everyone's awake because of all the different time zones. But that's basically what we've been doing. Oh, and one of the students, so the YouTube channel that you probably first became aware of is a podcast that me and one of the students do. And it's basically his English lesson, but also a way a way for him to talk about Ukraine and explain Ukraine to people outside, and a way for me to try and recruit more volunteers to the program. And it's been really fun so far, and we're looking forward to working on that YouTube channel as a sort of separate but very interrelated part of the project.
Yeah, absolutely. I took a look at some of the videos posted on it, and I found it very interesting. I think that definitely a lot that could be done to grow it outward, but
Mm,
but I think that's something a lot of people also need to keep in mind. You know, a YouTube channel sometimes it's primarily focused on news or advocacy or activism. Some are entertainment channels. Uh, you know, it could be anything. So having something for students to practice their English,
mm,
yeah, that's a very good use for it.
yeah.
Um, so um I get so everybody, please be sure to check out Balakun, both their YouTube channel and the rest of their social media. Um, and I'm so sorry, mods. Like I said, I've been running left and right, but if you guys can pull up the Balakun social media and put that in chat, I'll appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Um, but yeah, so I guess aside from the work that Balakun is doing and organizing everyone to, you know, teach Ukrainians English, uh, are there any other additional projects you've been personally involved with, or anything else, you know, of interest?
Well, I've in the middle of 2022, I joined the New Zealand Association, Ukrainian Association in New Zealand, and I did some volunteering work with them, and they're always doing fundraisers and demonstrations and things like that. So I joined them a lot, and that's kind of my first introduction to people from Ukraine, and that's how I met my first student. Actually, she was a refugee from Ukraine living in New Zealand, and but then Balakun has kind of been all consuming, to be honest, and it's taken on so many different limbs and yeah, lots of really cool stuff happening and keeping me very busy. But I think it's good. We're making a big difference for lots of people in a small way, which I think is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're glad to have you on the stream and to, you know, introduce people to the work that you do. Me personally, I actually, you know, funny thing, years ago, I was actually considering, and I still am. I would like to volunteer and help you guys, but of course, we're all very busy.
Mm-hmm.
If I had if I had time, I'd be doing 10 different projects, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
on top of what I'm already doing. But years ago, I was going to do teaching English in Japan using the JET program,
Oh,
if you've
yeah.
ever heard of that. Um, Wound up getting to the second round of interview, uh, but my I spent more time focused on just how I would teach English and understanding the written part of Japanese than the spoken part, and wound up not having enough spoken Japanese to qualify, which was unfortunate. But yeah, anyway, just a small side story. So I really admire the work that you're doing. It's important to bring people together with you know, skills such as knowing common languages of business that are used internationally, such as, you know, English, Spanish, Mandarin. These really do open economic opportunities and opportunities for diplomacy, for networking, for a variety of different ventures for people. So, what you're doing is very important. I appreciate it. Um, all right. So, uh, now what we usually do here on the stream is I guess we have a guest talk about their own project and what they're doing and introduce people to it. Uh, and then we also go over news a little bit just to share thoughts about what's currently occurring in Ukraine. Um, yeah. So I guess first thing I'm going to do is, oh, actually, one thing I wanted to do was pull up and show people the actual website for Balakun, but if I'm not mistaken, that's still being
Uh,
uh,
it's under
figured out at the
construction.
moment,
It's under
correct?
construction. Thank you.
Under construction.
We've got a link tree which includes it includes a sign up form for students and mentors, and
Hmm.
so it's very basic. It's just a link tree. But what's really exciting is we have a group of IT students in Ukraine building us a website. So they do it to get experience for nonprofit organizations, and we get a cool website out of it. So that's been really fun as well, working with them. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, if you want to send me the link tree, I can. I mean, it'll just be a link tree, so it's just going to be of
It's
course, a
just,
list of
it's just
links. But
balakun.co, so it's very easy. Yeah, balakun.co.
oh, Balakun.co.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, perfect. Then let me pull that up so people can see it right quick. Also, we have a question in the chat asking what the name of this English school is from American in Ukraine. So yeah, this is Balakun is the name of this program, this English school to teach English to Ukrainians, language
Mm-hmm.
exchange. Um, Also, everybody, the Q&A section of the chat is open, and if anyone has questions, not just for me, but for Balakun, for Sandy, then please feel free to put them in the chat or in the Q&A section. And
And
let's
balakun
see.
means chatterbox, by the way.
Oh, it means chatterbox?
Yeah.
Wait, is that in Ukrainian
Ukraine.
specifically?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. You know, uh, funny overlap actually. I also learned, I don't know which one, but in one of the languages of India, Balakun apparently also is the name of a mountain. So
Okay.
yeah, funny coincidence when I
Yeah.
was yeah. Um, all right, so let me pull up the link tree real fast. Here we go. All right, we're just gonna show this real quick, everybody, so you guys can see visually a little bit. While the main oh, hold on, I need to fix this so it's fully visible. There we go. So while the main website is under construction, this is what is currently set up. So if you want to check out their link tree, it is balakun.co. Will here, I'll just put that in the chat. Balakun.co. That'll take you to this link tree. So it'll be different. It'll show up as linktr.ee /ESL for Ukrainians. And this will give you a quick link to where you can sign up to become a volunteer mentor if you have an interest. If you want, or if you know someone who would want to be a student, there's a form there, and options to show support with donations. And then a link to all of their social medias. And I yeah, I had mentioned this before. I noticed you guys are on a lot, so this
Mm.
is very good to see. All right. Now then, let me go ahead and let's see here. Let's go back to the original view. So, all right. We've covered the website right quick. Mm, all right. I'm going to pull up a bit of news if you'd care to join us. I know that another member of Balakun was going to join us, if I'm not mistaken. Do you know if they're still going to be able to make it?
Possibly. He said he couldn't promise, but he would try. So, but he's got the link.
Okay, perfect. Let me check to see. Let me check. Sorry, got a question. Let me check if we have any questions from chat yet. First one is just do you take any breaks? I'm gonna assume that's for both of us, and I'm gonna assume the answer is we're both busy enough. It probably feels like maybe the answer is no sometimes. But what is the name and website of the English school? Yeah, so yep, so we answered that one. Balakun is the name of the school. All right, yeah. So while we're waiting for any questions to come in, let me just pull up some news right quick. So we were covering. Actually, we could discuss a little bit some of the news that was recently covered just before you joined the stream. We were talking a bit about Ukraine aid passing, making progress in the United States Senate, and the push for it to basically make it all the way through to the House of Representatives, so it could be so it can be begin the process of being transferred to Ukraine. And we also were discussing at LSU Shreveport, a university in the state of Louisiana. Um, it is the home state of a rather anti-Ukraine, or maybe a better way to word it is someone who is not very pro-Ukraine, who has influence in U.S. politics right now. And, just that it's positive to see some grassroots pro-Ukraine support in his home city. Have you kept up with either of these news stories?
I try. It's hard to follow the U.S. politics sometimes, to be honest. I try. It's good that it's making progress. It's incredibly frustrating seeing what the what the political strings being pulled at the moment. And it's even more well, it's frustrating for me. And then if you imagine how it feels for people in Ukraine, like, come on, man, come on, make it happen. But yeah,
Yeah,
that was good.
absolutely.
It's very good news today. Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, you were mentioning that you're specifically from New Zealand, yes?
Yes. Yes.
So I've noticed quite a bit of support for Ukrainians from New Zealand. And I got to say, I love your country. The political system is, I know everyone's jaded a little bit to a certain degree about their own political system, but I like how you guys have it set up. And I've
Have you
noticed, I'm sorry?
have you ever been here to New Zealand?
I actually have not had a chance to. I've been really hoping to go one of these days when I have the opportunity. Yeah, but great place. A little expensive, but nice
It is.
country.
It's quite expensive. Yeah, I mean, I always, I guess I get a bit frustrated that people aren't more invested, but there is a lot of support here, especially just from regular people, even if it doesn't show up in politics all the time. Definitely a lot of support, and of course we have some individuals with who've been taken over by the misinformation, disinformation as well. But that's everywhere. I think that's everywhere. Yeah.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. Um, okay, so let's see here. Uh, well,
Sorry to
I
interrupt.
definitely, yes, go
The
ahead.
best way to respond to people in the chat. Can I just answer if I
Oh,
see?
oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, we're just having a conversation. Feel free to answer in the chat, answer with your voice over the stream, however you prefer.
Cool.
If you see a question and I missed it, you feel free to let me know and we can take a look at it right quick.
Oh, just a comment from KKSGG. I work in civil engineering and would be happy to help any Balakun students in that field. That's really cool, and I'd love for you to get in touch. What we're doing at the moment is basically conversation, but I see it growing into something else where you can, um, you know, volunteer your time to teach about whatever you're an expert in, which is something that we're working on with the website. So you could say, hey, we can talk about English, or we can talk in English, sorry, or we can talk about engineering, or we can talk about IT, or whatever you like. And so in the website, you'll have a profile that says what you're happy to talk about, basically, and a student can select you as a conversation partner based on those things. So thank you for your comment, and yeah, we'd love to chat.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So, Americans, Kiwis, Aussies, just anyone around the world. If you've got some, contacts or some skills you think would be helpful, yeah, please get in touch with Balakun. Um, all right. Oh, I see here an update I'm getting. Ah, here we go. We have a few questions here that I needed to pull up from the Discord. Um, okay, so we've got a few questions we can go over right quick. This one I think was just directed to me, to the channel. Oh, okay, so this one was already addressed earlier. Avenues to work around Speaker Johnson if necessary. Um, yeah, I answered this a little bit earlier, and I think it's complex. I think there are certain executive executive orders that in and of themselves couldn't overcome Congress as a whole, but could lay a groundwork to making a loophole to get aid to Ukraine. The biggest issue would be that, well, you, the presidency can't generate income, can't generate funds. It can only distribute funds that have already been allocated. And the problem right now is there isn't an official amount of money that's ready to be sent, but being blocked by bureaucracy, basically, or political dysfunction. It's right now they're discussing, are we even going to set money aside to send? Um, but also that's a risky political gambit because it could be, I think it could be possible, but it would be complex and tricky and generate headlines that could it, it could cost Democrats votes, which could result in Trump becoming president, which of course could result in much more problems for Ukrainians. So it's incredibly frustrating. None of us like the political process. There's plenty to criticize, but I think that's part of the issue. Um, so I guess my answer to that would be yes, but they should be the nuclear option. There should be a major attempt to win back Congress instead of skirting around it, because that creates a precedent that'll create even more political dysfunction long term, sadly. Um, if Speaker Johnson refuses to introduce Ukraine aid, both of these are from Cheryl. Thank you, Cheryl. If Speaker Johnson refuses to introduce Ukraine aid, one, which Republicans could be recruited to join Democrats in ousting the Speaker? And two, who could implement a bypass? That's a very good question. And that's a question I would need to do more research on. If we're speaking specifically about House Republicans, I've been so busy with other things, I haven't looked specifically at which Republicans would be easiest or hardest to recruit to join Democrats in voting in support of Ukraine. So basically, for the second follow-up, it's a good question. I would have to do more research and come back to you on that, which I will look into that, and I'll get back to you with my thoughts on that. But of course, time is limited on the stream, so I'll get back in touch with you about that, Cheryl. Here's a question from Tone. What should my answer be to peeps saying Trump did something good during his 4 years? What are your thoughts on this, Sandy?
A bewildered blank stare.
That's the polite way of putting it. Yeah, I think it just depends because, of course, all of us who are politically or ideologically not aligned with people who would say something like that, we've got plenty of things like the immediate,
Space
bewildered.
He started Space Force. That's quite cool, isn't it? Or was it just a big? I don't know. It's cool because I'm a nerd, but.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and I guess with any administration, yes, there are things you can point out, pros and cons. You can create a huge list because 4 years of things done by any presidency in the U.S. is going to include many activities. But yeah, I guess if we're talking about from the left or from center left or center right, yes, also from center right. If we're talking about from that perspective, which includes many negatives that happened during Trump's presidency, there's kind of an immediate gut reaction to be confused or emotional, upset. And that kind of feeds into the outrage culture that in general exists in US politics. I would say there's two approaches. One is to just kind of take a strong stance and say, no, there were quite a few negative things. Let me list them out for you. And, um, they outweigh the good. Another would be you could take the devil's advocate approach and you could, for example, highlight something like Sandy said about Space Force being founded that could be seen as a positive. And from there, you could either give them that and then kind of uh, transition into an additional topic of why, even though that was a positive, it doesn't excuse things such as January 6th or any of the other major events related to Trump during his 4-year presidency. Or you honestly, the sad truth of politics is you can take just about any topic, positive or negative, and you can find a way to give it a certain spin. I'm not saying that you should do that. I think a lot of us don't like doing that, but if your question is what are ways to convince people to uh, assist Ukraine or to see that Trump is not a good option for president, uh, then that's one thing. If the question is more related to, um, I don't know, yeah, just strengthening your own position against Trump, uh, it there's too many approaches you could take. I would say just being open, honest, and trying not to be emotional. Too emotional is going to be the approach to take with those folks.
Ozzy says he did organize a flash mob at the Capitol, which I think is hilarious. That was quite a flash mob.
Oh man, that's one for the books. Like the flash mob of all flash mobs on Twitter.
Yeah.
I think January 6th. Now that I think about it, January 6th is probably the major turning point where Twitter went from just being a toxic social media site to a social media site with considerable attention on its political power when utilized in certain ways.
And it's only got more extreme since then.
Oh, absolutely. I do have an account just to be able to keep an eye on the landscape on Twitter, but I've had people say, "Hey, you should create a Twitter. You should utilize it. You should, it's very useful for political advocacy." I I understand the approach of don't leave it just so it's completely taken over by the far right, but it's funded and owned by Musk. It has all of these ties to pretty negative events, and it's pretty clear which direction things are going and who gets the most benefit out of it continuing to be a relevant social media platform. I'm not going to knock anyone who's using Twitter here. Lots of good people use Twitter. I personally prefer to find an alternative, and I'm willing to go through the grind to build something up that is a viable alternative to Twitter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It is very useful. It is very useful. I don't like going on there, but it has been very helpful for
That's what I hear from so many people, and I agree, and that's why I'm still on the fence. I'm considering it because you can't just block out things you don't like.
I don't think you need to. You can build your project or build your enterprise around any social media platform, but it depends what you're trying to do, I suppose. For us, that's where a lot of people are. So
Yeah. Well, I've considered Threads because I still see political engagement and activism on Threads, and it also has a pretty large user count, and it's grown in a short period of time compared to Twitter.
Have you tried Blue Sky yet?
I have looked into it, and I'm considering using it because it's still so early on. I feel like you get established early on, then it gives you a little bit of a leg up, whenever it goes from 4 million to 40 million users.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the two I've been looking at, Blue Sky and Threads. There's also Mastodon, but Mastodon is cool, but it's not going to grow large enough. I think it will always be smaller than the others.
Yeah.
All right.
To be honest,
Now then.
when we start a new social network, I always feel a little bit of trepidation at the start. I'm like, oh my God, I have to learn how to use a new thing. Because one of the people who started this project with me is a social media marketer, and she did an amazing job of setting up all of these different platforms. And I was kind of going through like, oh, I'm going to have to spend so much time on Discord and you know, this one and this one and this one. And it's quite overwhelming at the start if you're used to just one thing.
Mhm.
But what's cool is if you have someone managing it, they can control all of them at the same time and just post something and it goes out everywhere,
Mhm.
which is really really effective. And you don't have to necessarily like you don't have to spend all your time everywhere. You just have a place for people who have that as their favorite place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So I think that we are through with all the questions for right now. So, I guess what we could do right quick, because I think it'll be around in around 30 minutes that we finish up the stream. So here's what I'm gonna thinking we do. Let's do just a 5 minute portion of a video in order to get a little bit of news that we could both, be up to date on and comment on a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, yeah, we can kind of close out our conversation with some of the best ways that people can assist Balakun.
Cool. Sounds good.
Perfect. All right, so let me pull this up right quick. And we'll just go with Juzzy for this week because he's got good, quick recaps. And we're not going to watch the whole thing. So let me pull this up. And let me... okay. Share. Full screen. All right. Okay, and let's watch this for a little bit. All right, so I'm going to pause that right there for 1 sec. And yeah, guys, this we're probably looking at this getting to over 400,000 casualties just on the Russian side before this month is through, within the next week or maybe a little more so, which is absolutely staggering. Sadly, I don't think this is I don't think this is specifically something that the Kremlin considers a major negative or deterrence to their continued aggression. I think instead, what we've been seeing here recently with oil fields being attacked, I legitimately the oil I think has more value than the lives of these Russian soldiers, which is quite sad when it is heard out loud. Let's. Oh yeah, you have thoughts, Sandy?
I just it's hard to fathom those kinds of numbers, to be honest, and the fact that that's part of a process and is still going. I just don't understand it.
Yeah. Oh, and also I know this maybe isn't usually the exact content you cover because you do language exchange stuff on your channel. Um, but yeah, thank you for being here to just discuss this briefly here on the stream. So let me also, I almost forgot. Let me put the link to this video for Ukraine News TV in the chat. And there you go, guys. It has been posted. Should be there in 1 sec. All right, let's continue.
KKSGG says there's no audio.
There's no oh. Let's restart this. Thank you, because I have two sources and both of them are identical the way they look on my screen. One has audio and the other doesn't have audio. That was my mistake. And I think people are used to that a little bit on stream when I'm running this by myself, so sorry about that, guys. But luckily we're only 48 seconds in, so that's pretty quick and easy to fix. Thank you. Thank you for catching that.
Good.
All right, let's start this again.
Day 718 of the Ukrainian War Map, also known as the Russo-Ukrainian War. Juzzy here, and today is another update with a slightly more special video today, as I change up the format just a bit given some special recent events. So starting off, we'll take a look at the Russian losses, as currently Russia sits on more than 393,000 military personnel loss, representing an additional 910 in the past 24 hours. Then as for their hardware losses, 2 tanks, 22 APVs, and 24 artillery. Then moving across to the map, we'll firstly start out in Russia, as there have been more fires than you could poke a stick at. For instance, starting in Perm, a Russian freight train with fuel caught fire after a suspected explosion at a natural gas pipeline. Then down in Krasnodar Krai, as the Russian Ilsky refinery suffered an explosion overnight with a fire breaking out at one of the processing units, presumably due to a Ukrainian drone. So another oil refinery is on fire in Russia. I mean, how unacceptable would this start to become for the energy security of a nation? As any nation who would be inflicted with these types of losses would take immediate military action against the offending party. Although problematically for Russia, they're already in an all-in war against Ukraine, militarily speaking, which means they really military escalation to perform against Ukraine now. So basically, they are no longer operating from a leveraged position. Then moving across.
I'm just going to comment on that since we're already 2 minutes into our 5 minutes of updates on this. Just as I said, oil being the focus and oil being the real lifeblood here of the Russian Federation. So expect to see more of this, everybody.
Still in Russia, as Moscow, the capital, has been lighting up well, reportedly with a 4,000 square meter building, which conjured more than 40 units of the Russian brigade to help stop this. Then also in Russia, a 1,300 kilometers away, or about 800 miles, at Izhevsk, just yesterday, a significant explosion occurred at the Votkinsk machine building plant in Russia, which is in fact known for producing the Topol-M and Iskander missiles. Now, Russian state media reported the incident as a scheduled explosion during a rocket engine test, but locals were left scratching their head why they missed any notifications just prior to the event. And indeed, why do it on a cold Russian winter's night when everybody's going to bed? It makes no sense. Then, lastly, for Russia today, blackouts were once again reported in the Belgorod Oblast, in several districts of the Belgorod Oblast and city, in fact, after some explosions were heard. So, as you can certainly see, things are definitely heating up this winter time for Russia, and never in Putin's or the Russian MOD's wildest dreams could they have predicted such an outcome. Golly. Then briefly, we'll start out moving into the Ukrainian map into Kyiv. As it was noted just, I think, the day before yesterday, debris was found in the capital.
Just gonna pause for a sec. We're almost at the 5-minute mark. We're going to see what they have to say here about Kiev in a moment, and then I'm gonna skip through the video to the portion that discusses Avdiivka. If you're not familiar, Sandy, we have a
scheduled explosion. It's a scheduled explosion.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah, a lot of explosions, a lot of fires, a lot of smoking accidents happening throughout Russia these days.
Oh.
And if you're not familiar, one region that we keep an eye on is Avdiivka, which are you familiar with the situation at the front lines right now in Ukraine?
Yeah.
Yeah, we currently have a fundraiser where we are sending equipment to the soldiers who are serving in Avdiivka. So we take a special interest in that particular part of Ukraine.
I see. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, let's continue. We'll hear about Kiev, and then we're going to skip ahead to Avdiivka, everybody.
Of a Zircon hypersonic missile. Now, photos also circulated with a ZM-22 handwritten engraving on the wreckage, which is something that leads to the speculation of not reaching any level of automated.
Oh, I'm sorry. I see. Is the video breaking up a bit?
A little bit.
Should like very consistently, or just here and there a little bit?
Just here and there.
Okay. Yeah, I really like the software that I use, but and the thing is, I really like it because it's made in Ukraine. If you see that little restream symbol up there in the upper right, that's actually Restream is based in Kiev, and they also have offices in Austin, Texas. I really love their software. You'll notice the little Ukrainian flag background here on the stream. That's actually built into it. Like, that is a default option. But the one thing they don't have, which I really want them to add, is they only have it available from the browser, and sometimes the connectivity and things get like bug out just a tiny bit here and there. So I'm really hoping they create a desktop client app, because I think if they do that, it could be a game changer. They could be a major competitor with the biggest streaming software from the US.
Cool.
All right. Anyway, a little technical.
To me, I'm trying to learn all of this stuff, so Restream seems like a good option.
It is. It has a little quirks here and there, but all in all, I still use it because honestly, it's pretty easy to use. It's pretty seamless, and it's made in Ukraine. So if it's like today, I'm in a hurry. I'm sending messages left and right to get onto a stream. Restream is my default. Okay, I can jump on pretty quickly with this, and it works well. All right, let's finish this up now.
And scaled up production for this missile type. Also, a local publication that wrote about the incident appeared to suggest that the missile was shot down and failed to hit its intended target of a power line. Then moving across to the Donbass, within the Crimea forest, in fact, move all the way there, as the Ukrainian 5th Artillery Brigade tracked a Russian armed assault as it moved west, where shortly thereafter, Ukrainian forces proceeded to drop well-sighted 155mm DP ICM cluster of munitions, and high explosive shells on the formation, destroying multiple Russian tanks. And in the end, the AFU advanced in the forest south of Kremina and approached the Prislina Hotel, making it beyond the forest. Then...
Alright, and I'm just pausing for 1 sec while I go find the portion about Avdiivka, everybody. 1 second. I'm actually not seeing any close-up on Avdiivka so far in the video. Oh, American and Ukraine. Yeah, the Facebook integration. There are integration improvements that could be made for Restream as well, yeah. But I'm actually not seeing a specific close-up for Avdiivka, but I do see an article here that he covers that I noticed earlier today that I want us to take a look at real fast. So we'll do that, and then we'll call it good for news for today, guys. Then we'll go over the fundraiser updates, so you all are aware. Oh, actually, shoot. I don't know if anyone made any donations right now before the stream, but let me check. No, I got lucky actually. So hold on a sec because I need this as a visual reference for later. 1 second, everybody. So this, you know what, we're just gonna do this real fast right now. And then we'll continue with the news. This is where we currently stand with the fundraisers. Oh, this one. Now, this is at 100%. This was at 100%, the one on the bottom, and the money has been withdrawn. I need to check if we need to adjust this so it can be shattered, because I don't believe we're going to reuse that same jar for additional fundraising. But yeah, the anti-drone gun was closed out the other week. So let me do this real fast. Let me just close that. I'll ask Anton about how he wants to handle that later, but yeah, that is at 100% as of now. Now, if we reopen a jar for additional fundraising later, I'll let you know, but that fundraiser is done. It is closed, and I will have updates on that for all of you soon. With regards, I'm going to be posting a video later today specifically about the anti-drone guns that have been delivered. A thank you video from the soldiers of the 110th Mechanized Brigade serving in Avdiivka of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. And yes, the last I've heard is, as I mentioned before, both of the anti-drone guns were purchased. The remaining funds were for batteries, for basically just to make sure that there were sufficient batteries for those anti-drone guns to continue being used. The last update that I got from Anton, as he was speaking with one of the commanders there, of the 110th. Yeah, the officer in charge of electronic warfare has informed us that the needs of the specialists in the brigade, rather than batteries, because apparently they should have sufficient batteries already to be able to make good use of the anti-drone guns we've sent. They're instead considering using the money that's been withdrawn after we got the fundraiser to 100%, to order current converters as protection equipment for radio electronic combat vehicles against enemy drones, known as Shatro. I've heard of Shahid. I'm not familiar with the model known as Shatro that he is mentioning here. So, yeah, we'll have more information about that soon, come Monday or Tuesday, and I will be sure to post an update to let you guys know where what's going to be going on with that. But as you can see, it is off the screen, and that's because if anyone saw the post last week, we reached 100%, and yeah, further updates regarding electronic warfare equipment will be coming soon, come Monday, Tuesday. Thank you, everybody. All right. And we're currently at 10,000 of 1,936,000 hryvnia for the 110 FPV drones. So thank you again to everyone who donated. Let's finish this news, and then I know you've got to go pretty soon, Sandy, if I'm not mistaken, so I don't want to be cutting it too close.
5 or 6 minutes, yeah, no worries.
Okay.
Continues to ramp up and impressively coming in all shapes and sizes these days. So most recently, Ukraine's been moving into the space of longer range frontline drones with a range of 40 plus kilometers or about 25 plus miles, which fills a very much needed gap with Ukraine's production output of drones in this war. In fact, they look somewhat similar to Russia's Lancet drones, but are expected to be far more capable on multiple metrics, including precision, warheads, and electronic warfare circumvention capabilities. So, Ukraine is slated to produce 1 million drones in-house throughout 2024, with this figure only including FPV drones, which is different to the otherwise longer range drones that we see them using almost every week in Russia now, really, probably twice, 3 times a week. But I can't help but think for Ukraine's in-field use of this type of new Russian Lancet-looking drone, I would expect some Russian sources will find this footage and then proceed to pass it off as their own Lancet drones taking out Ukrainian platforms on the battlefield. Bearing in mind, Russia also has a war of propaganda to win back home as well. So they'll use anything they can, which we always see them do. Then moving across to some Russian...
Oh, okay. So I see the message, Tone, about the location in the video where there's an update about Avdiivka. Thank you very much, because I do want to cover that. But since we're running short on time for Sandy, we're gonna go ahead and switch over to that, and then we'll finish up the stream with an Avdiivka update, everybody. After Sandy, after Sandy has dropped off. So yeah, Sandy, what are your thoughts, I guess, on kind of some of the news that was just covered?
Yeah, it's whose channel is this? It's an interesting accent.
He is an Aussie guy. His name, he goes by online, is Juzzy, and his channel is, I believe it's UNTV, Ukraine News Television.
Oh yeah, cool. It's a very familiar accent to me.
He's got a good voice for it. It's very soothing.
Yeah. It's good. Yeah, it's sometimes it's to be honest, it's a little bit difficult to follow everything that's going on at the front, and I guess I mean it's important to stay engaged and to stay interested, but at the same time it can be quite draining, emotionally overwhelming. Yeah. When you see what's happening.
Yeah, I know. Well, let's finish up on a more positive note, because I really like the work that you do. So yeah, let me close this up real fast. Again, everybody, please go check out Balakun. And this time I've got the correct source up. So, yeah, let me flip it over to the, come on, InfoCap. There you are. Balakun Linktree. So, reminder, everybody, please go to balakun.co. That's just CO, no M at the end. And it'll take you to this link tree. which will basically give you access to all their social medias. Which, like, look at this, it's a treasure trove. Whichever one is your, pick your poison, whichever one you like. Volunteer mentor sign up, student forum, opportunities to, give financial support if you're so inclined. And yeah, Sandy, do you have any, I guess, closing remarks or anything you'd like to let the world know about Ukraine, Balakun, the work you do, anything?
Well, firstly, just thank you so much for inviting me. This is my first time doing a live stream, and it was fun. It was fun, and I really appreciate you, giving me the airtime, because it's important that we grow and that we continue to find new mentors. And but also, I think in terms of Balakun, we have a really cool community, and everyone's doing it. Everyone's there for the same reason, and that makes it a very special kind of project, I think. Yeah, just thank you for having me on, and I hope we can return the favor one day and have you on the podcast to talk about whatever you feel like talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one big thing. I mean, we're all in this for Ukraine. Like, I don't care if a channel has 100, 10 subscribers or 1 million subscribers, like, if I see the person's content and I know their reputation, the work they're doing is really good, whether it be humanitarian or military related or whatever it might be, political, in support of Ukraine and stopping all of this that's happening, or just even general support for Ukraine, that's, yeah, you're always welcome here. And I hope we can do more live streams in the future.
Yeah, thanks. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta go and record my podcast now.
All right.
So much for having me. Great.
Oh, absolutely. And also, what are the best platforms for people to find that podcast?
So on YouTube, there's actually, if you search for Balakun on YouTube, there's our main channel, which has all sorts of things like lessons and group speaking sessions and news and things like that. But we also have this separate podcast called A Bridge to Ukraine, which it's owned by me and Vitaly, so that it's a little bit separate. So he's got more control over what we do. If you're interested in the podcast, go to A Bridge to Ukraine. If you want to see some of the other stuff we do, then go to the main. Yeah, so that's the main one.
Okay. So if I click on here, I can find the link to A Bridge for Ukraine?
Hopefully.
If not, I know which one, because I'm actually subscribed to both of the channels. But if the other one is for the podcast, then, you know what, let's just type in.
If you scroll down slightly.
Oh,
I saw.
no,
that was just a link. Sorry.
All good. Let me do A Bridge to Ukraine.
No, that was a terrible name, because if you search A Bridge
it just pulls everything else up. There we go. Okay, here we go. So, okay, everybody. And I forgot to mention this, so I'm glad we're talking about it at the very end. If you want to get all of the content from Balakun, they actually have 2 YouTube channels. I'm going to put this one in the chat as well, so go check it out if you want to see their podcast. All right. And so with that, thank you very much for joining us, Sandy. It's been a pleasure. And I'll let you go take care of your podcast recording.
Thank you so much. I'll see you again soon.
See you again soon. All right.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, everybody, and so that was Sandy with Balakun. And as mentioned, I did forget that there are 2 YouTube channels. There's one which covers conversations more directly related to their ESL project. And then there's also this channel, which is specifically for their podcast. They do both have the same symbol on them, so I know that's a little confusing, but I have gone ahead and just posted the link for the second YouTube channel into the live chat. So I think people probably caught the first one earlier in the stream, so I will go ahead and pin the second YouTube channel. That way people can find it more easily. All right, let's see if we have questions. And also, we ran out of time there at the end, so I am so sorry if there are any questions for Sandy. Oh, there was one for Sandy. Yeah, we missed it. So sorry, Michaels. But I'll feel free to answer this question right now. From my perspective, as someone who has learned a tiny bit of Ukrainian, I'm definitely not fluent. How hard is Ukraine to learn compared to other languages? So I speak more than one language. I speak English, I speak Spanish, and then a little bit of Japanese. I'd also like to learn more French. But I speak English and Spanish fluently and sufficient Japanese for at least basic conversations. From what I've seen of Ukrainian compared to other languages I've studied, I don't think it would be too bad for most English speakers, especially if you have a bilingual background, with something such as Spanish or German or Russian. As far as pronunciations go, pronunciations are, drastically different between those languages I just listed. But if you're fluent in English as well as any of those languages I just listed, I think that it might be a little easier. The biggest thing is going to be the alphabet is different. Using Cyrillic instead of the Latin alphabet. But the nice thing is, if you're someone who's ever studied something like Chinese or Japanese, it is an alphabet. And so you can learn an alphabet and you can kind of remind yourself, this letter that's looks like a backwards R, it makes a ya sound. It doesn't make an R sound. And, the one that looks like a C, it makes a S sound, not a K sound. There's a little bit of overlap in design. Like some of the letters look similar to Latin alphabet letters because there is historical overlap with other European writing systems. But I think that it's quite doable. I don't think Ukrainian is that much harder than other languages to learn. It just depends on how much time you put into it. Just like with many other languages. Anyway, I'm sorry. I know that was meant for Sandy, but didn't want to leave that question hanging. So I hope that answered your question, Michaels. Yep. Let's see here. All right, now then, let's go back and get a quick update from Avdiivka. I actually have another appointment coming up after this, so we're going to have to end the stream here very soon. Excuse me. Helicopter 515. All right, so we're going to start from here and see if we get a quick update about Avdiivka.
A-52 helicopter, this time near Avdiivka. And we don't see much of this occurring in the aftermath of the first tank's explosion due to loitering munition drops by the destroyed tanks. A Russian T-80 tank was this one west of Pisky, with another Russian T-80 tank sitting right next to it, likely immobilized and abandoned, that was actually destroyed in the aftermath of the first tank's explosion due to loitering munition drops by the AFU. Then, also, the armed forces of Ukraine destroyed another Russian Ka-52 helicopter, this time near Avdiivka. And we don't see much of this type of occurrence anymore, do we? Which makes sense given that Russia had a pre-war fleet of about 9 of these latest and greatest Ka-52 Alligator choppers, with likely a maximum figure of roughly 2/3 of them ever being operationally capable at any given time, but realistically, probably a lot less. Just anywhere between 40 and 60 of these helicopters in there. Then briefly, we move to Kherson because unlike Ukraine.
Okay, so there we go. Oh, and also I just noticed that the scrolling caption, I need to pull it up again. Thank you for being here with us, everybody. And again, as usual, monobank links should be in the live chat or the description of the video if you want to use those. We also have PayPal and Buy Me a Coffee as options now as well. So any donations are greatly appreciated. They will go toward FPV drones for the 110th Mechanized Brigade in Avdiivka. That region right there, I got a message. I actually got a message when that helicopter was brought down. So you can thank the 110th Mechanized Brigade and other friendly units operating in Avdiivka for that work, everybody. Every bit helps. I'm going to make my small donation right now. Let me do that. And if anyone would care to join me, please feel free to do so. I'm getting ready to send it right now. All right, and that's been sent. Okay, and we are running low on time, but there has been a video update, thank you video for the first 15 FPV drones that we have sent. We've currently fundraised enough for one additional, so we're at 16 out of 110 FPV drones for the 110th separate mechanized brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. We will continue to fundraise. All your donations are greatly appreciated. We are not going to stop. And yeah, please join us in making a stand against the Russians and doing what's right. Because Avdiivka, it has stood for years, and we are going to do everything in our power to push for it to continue to stand with grassroots aid, whatever the amount might be we can send, and getting these bills through U.S. Congress so Ukraine can get the military equipment that it needs. All right. Now then. Oh, there we go. What else do we have? Currently, as mentioned before, we are on Restream. I'm thinking in the future, we are still going to use Restream here and there, but we may switch over to just using OBS. We're probably going to be using all three in various capacities: Restream, OBS, and Streamlabs OBS, because all three have different convenient uses for different streaming and use case scenarios. So, yeah, we will be on again tomorrow on Sunday with Rick. I'll be on with the Shells here in a bit later today on their stream. That won't be here on the channel. I'm just going to be joining in on the Shells stream. For the stream on Sunday with Rick, I may be experimenting a bit. we're going to have the normal stream that's all on Rick's channel. I've asked him, and he gave permission, said it's okay for me to also attempt a multi-stream. So keep a lookout. I'm hoping that it works technically. But when you see the stream for Rick on Sunday, you may also see a stream for the exact same stream here on Tridents Against Tyrants. So we both would be multicasting, broadcasting to both channels simultaneously. I don't know if it's going to work because it's going to be a long stream, and we'll see if my computer can handle all of that at once for 5 to 8 hours. But yeah, we're going to experiment and try that out this week. If it gets cut short, then the entire stream will always still be available on Rick's channel. All right, everybody. With that, last thing I'd like to highlight is that we do continue to do the let's see, the call campaign for contacting U.S. Congress and EU Parliament and national governments. And we are going to be meeting here momentarily on the Discord, specifically in Rick's server. So, because that is where the whole thing was started. Let me go ahead and get the link for that. And I will be posting it here in chat for any who wish to join us. Because that is starting very, very, very soon. Like I said, that's just been my week. Like something, and then I immediately have to jump into the next. So Discord. There it is. All right. Anyone who wishes to join us, I'll give you 1 minute to get that link right there. I'm going to pin it here in the chat. So it's there in chat, and it's also pinned. Please feel free to take a look at that and join us on Discord. We will be making calls to representatives in the US and in the EU for anyone who joins us. And yeah, with the EU, it may specifically be emails and letters because we have numbers, but I've heard that sometimes they do and sometimes they don't answer or allow voicemails. But please join us. It is especially important on the US side, and on the EU side, it also does make a difference. Thank you, everybody. Glad that you all could join us. Please assist however you can, whether it's financially or with your time. Both are greatly appreciated, and you can make a difference. We can make a difference for Ukraine. Slava Ukraini, and I'll catch you next time.